In a world of BeamNG speedrunning, there are many different challenges, from normal racing to trucking simulators, from catch-them-all missions to 25 kilometers of pure suffering. With so much variety, it's almost impossible to say what the hardest mission to speedrun really is. Yes, rock crawling is extremely tough, and racing through the streets requires extreme precision, but which is truly more difficult? Tuning, driving skills, in-game physics and RNG. That's what makes each of them genuinely challenging in their own way. Today I'll dive headfirst into a mission type that many consider the ultimate test, where skill, pure luck and knowledge all collide, and every success is something you truly earn. This is garage to garage missions in BeamNG.
What?
The game has more than 300 different challenges, and with each update, more are added. BeamNG was bound to get some sort of endless mission, both for those who wish to test their skill and for ones who just want to relax after a hard day's work. Garage to Garage is exactly that, an endless mission that is, thanks to the latest update, present on every big map currently in BeamNG, where the goal is to deliver a random vehicle with one of the base configurations to a random predesignated spot on the map. Added as a small part of a much bigger update back in 2022, it became a hit among those who wished for something new. However, in the speedrunning community it didn't acquire much popularity. The main reason for this is time. While endless with speedrunning rules quickly became manageable, with the main goal being amount of kilometers driven, every major map quickly got a set number. 30 kilometers for the Jungle Rock Island, 40 for the East Coast, and 50 for both the West Coast and Italy. And with the recent addition of Utah into the list, actual number is yet to be decided. But even 30 kilometers is still too long, especially for such a small player base. In the best case scenario, it was roughly 20 minutes of pure focus, but that is truly the best case, because in this scenario you might have to drive some of the worst cars in the game, including trucks, pigeons or even a Vidra. So speedrunners added another rule: certain vehicles can be skipped or abandoned as the game calls it. The list is pretty long, all Gavril T series variants, almost every pigeon and Vision setups, and more, but memorizing every single abandon isn't really required, because the timer only counts while you are actually driving. Which leads me to the next point: this mission doesn't have a built-in timer. This creates one more small problem: life split or any other third-party timer must be used. While getting a good car is pure luck, there are also a lot of skill involved. No matter which map you choose, one thing is universal: skips. Every map has them by dozens, and almost every one of those little shortcuts is required if you wish to get a world record. The main issue with this is the number of different starting positions. Each map has at least 20 different routes, and some of those can be as long as 9 kilometers. So while it's easy to learn several skips, using all of them in each run a widely different story. That, and of course some cars not really fitted for skips, they might lead to a time loss or even a restart, in rare cases of overconfidence. And if we look at the current world records, skips are constantly used. Those runs are by no means new. Years have passed since someone actually tried to challenge them and succeeded. Among several runs that are present on the leaderboards, 3 players hold the world records: Planet Extreme, Skill and Blitz. Each spent at least 100 hours to learn the routes, finding skips and successfully finishing the required distance. Let's jump into runs and see what the main problems are and how exactly do these runners cut what is essentially a no checkpoint route across the whole map. Shortest garage to garage is Jungle Rock Island, and that's where we're gonna look first. Record here is held by Planet Extreme for over 2 years now. And it's easy to see why. The runner got incredibly lucky with cars, and also knew many of the big shortcuts that saved several seconds each. However, he was almost destroyed several times by one major obstacle: traffic. AI-controlled vehicles in BeamNG are incredibly stupid. they can get stuck, ram into you, or just stop for no apparent reason. There are several ways to make them do what you want, one of which is sirens. Traffic literally tries to avoid you if those are active, at least most of the time. Honking is another way, but it's far less effective and can lead to situations where those AI cars just stop and refuse to move. And on the third route, the runner encounters the finest sort of traffic stupidity. A car stuck inside the gate of an old castle. Finish is right behind that one obstacle, so Planet Extreme decided to just ram it and recover as fast as possible. This is a constant problem throughout all garage-to-garage runs, without any clean fix, except playing without traffic, but those categories mostly ignored by the community. This is as good a place as any to explain how the game calculates distance. Are shortcuts bad? Short answer: no. Long answer: it's all about how the game figures out the distance traveled. It's not a straight line between start and finish. In fact, BeamNG uses a legal route and with as little off-road as possible. Cuts in this case can actually save minutes of driving at times. That is, if the car can actually survive them. While the jungle rock scenario might be the shortest and therefore feel like the easiest, several quirks should be taken into consideration. Rocks, trees, and off-road are a constant threat on this particular map. Combine this with elevation changes that lead to massive shortcuts with no room for mistakes, and it's easy to see why the difference between first and second place is a whole 4 minutes. The halfway point in Planet Extreme's run was beautiful. So far he had gotten lucky with great cars, even for off-road, and now it was Scintilla, one of the best vehicles in this scenario. It's fast, and that's what matters. But the runner decided to cut through the mud, and that almost led to a restart. It was a risky move, especially at the end where bumps and a big bush hit a massive boulder. But this small mistake was no match for overall great driving of Planet Extreme, and he finished with great time of 23 minutes and 51 seconds. Time to jump into the East Coast, where the scenario is 10 kilometers longer. This is where the first major luck-based shortcut lies: Sawmill Spawn Point. On paper, it's probably the most time safe you can get on any of the routes on any of the maps. Because of how East Coast actually laid out, the game logically assumes player will be driving around while trying to get to the dock. While in reality, by going the opposite way and moving off-road, you can just land near the endpoint. 3-minute route transforms into 40-second adventure. Technically, anyone can roll it twice or even 3 times over the span of the whole run, but the current world record held by Skill has none. While many different skips are used, especially with how flat some parts of the East Coast are, it really pales in comparison to how much that single RNG spawn can give. What is weird is that this is probably the hardest to take record. Skill got extremely lucky with cars, which led to a massive time save over the span of the whole run. Skill also uses another rule in her record: abandon. While previously I already explained that many cars can't be skipped because they are too slow, 5 get out of jail free cards can be used at any given moment. However, if you are mid-route and crash, abandoning will not let you remove the time you wasted in that delivery before you crashed. All of this can lead to some unique skill and knowledge moments. Longer routes are preferable, but can you guarantee not crashing? Skill managed to finish a run with crash number being at 0. Combined with good RNG on the cars, she finished faster than Planet Extreme by 40 whole seconds, with final time being 28 minutes and 53 seconds. The West Coast is very different from the previous 2 maps that I have talked about. While on paper it can be easier with much wider roads and plenty of space even in town, the greatest part of BeamNG strikes again: constant updates. This map is the main one in career mode, and that means it is the first to be updated. New buildings, new fences, and even fewer shortcuts. Several years ago, this map had much better cuts than now. For a long time, the drag strip was the prime example of this, but now it's walled off. This makes the West Coast world record very hard to beat. Very, but not impossible. If you look at the current record by, again, Planet Extreme, it's clearly filled with small mistakes. Seconds at times are wasted because of RNG. The runner also tried very risky strategy to get down from a hill instantly. It didn't go as planned, and the route was abandoned right there. Spawning points on the West Coast are very random, and sometimes it can spawn the car on one of two big hills that is present on the map. That's a major problem. Trying to move down slowly while safe is not particularly fast, and the only other way is to just wing it. Some vehicles handle it better than others, and rolling a scintilla on one of those hills is pure pain. But with a bit of luck and skill to support it, skips like those from Planet Extreme's run are possible, changing one of the most time-consuming routes into a nice little breeze. Final time 33 minutes and 44 seconds, more than 4 minutes faster than second place. But now it's time to jump into arguably one of the hardest garage-to-garage maps currently in BeamNG, Italy. It's very similar to West Coast in the sense that it's 50 kilometers and pretty open, sometimes. Other times it's just Jungle Rock 2.0 with how ridiculously small those roads are, especially when traffic is taken into consideration. World record here is held by the bus god, Blitzen. Because of Italy's bus routes, he was familiar with the map like no other before him. The problem, however, was not in map knowledge, but in its layout and obstacles. This map can feel very difficult. There are gravel, asphalt and mud. Sometimes all three will be present in one route. There are fences, steel bushes and traffic, so skips are very limited. This is not the West Coast with its YOLO jumps from hills. And finally, there are town sections. This is the biggest problem. With traffic, good luck trying to squeeze into small spaces in between houses. But it's not all bad. Italy features one of the longest routes possible, with it being almost 9 kilometers long. Nearly 20% of the run can be done in just one drive. As much as one might hate the layout of Italy itself, there is one single part that is very important for any garage-to-garage runner: the highway. It stretches almost across the whole of Italy and can lead to massive time saves. Think of it like this: if a 40-kilometer route has a record of 40 minutes, you need to average about 60 kilometers per hour to keep up. That's why the highway section is so important. It's a free boost to your average speed. As every run before, Blitzen's record is very old and not perfect. In fact, this is probably the easiest to take out of all 4 scenarios. The runner used 4 out of 5 free skips just to get a run. Town skips, field cuts and getting lucky with cars. That's what made his run possible. He still lost a lot of time due to traffic. Those pesky vehicles even pulled a pit maneuver on him. In total, runner got 6 times on the highway, and even later in the run got onto the wrong lane. While it might sound bad, it's much easier to avoid incoming cars, with almost zero chance of it backfiring if driven correctly. His final time, with all the mistakes and misfortunes with traffic, is 32 minutes and 30 seconds. Incredible time, especially for such a long scenario. But that's just what makes those runs stand out. Garage to Garage is practically the unlimited source of RNG, with random cars, semi-random start positions and whole lot of traffic. But it's also the final test for anyone brave enough to try and make it work. With the recent addition of Utah into the mix, there are plenty of undiscovered skips and unique solutions, especially with all the steel bushes and elevation changes this map has. If you wish to undertake this supreme challenge, you must know vehicles, maps, and finally, yourself. Because this is the ultimate place where overconfidence is a slow and insidious killer. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you are gonna attempt this unique challenge. While you are down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. It's a free way to support what I do, and I hope to see you in the next one.